So, good morning and welcome back to the class on smart materials and structures. So, if you remember what we were dealing in the last class, Mohan Ambal, where were you? I could not see at the end while taking the attendance in the last class yesterday.
Ma'am, no, ma'am, at last, like network was not proper for me. So,
Okay, no problem. I have given the attendance. What about the things what we were dealing yesterday in the class? Can you remember something?
yes, ma'am, about evolution of optical fiber and components of optic fiber, then working principle, the physical phenomena of
Yeah.
optical fiber.
Yes, we dealt and also we classified some classifications based on the mode of transfer as well as on the refractive index. Also, we dealt about the optical fiber communication, how a communication system could be developed by using an optical fiber system. Also, we dealt about, and we were supposed to start up with the characteristics of the optical fibers which will be used for any applications basically. So you should see how the transmission characteristics will be. So that is the second part, and basically what will be the physical characteristics of an optical fiber. So to start up, you should know like few things. What is the material through which it is being made up of? So firstly, you should see that fiber optics or it is called as fiber optics or optical fibers. Both are the same. So these optical fibers are basically made up of silicon oxide. So it is an glass material which is purely transparent. Why this material is used? Because it has a high index material. Because in optical fiber, the refractive index plays a vital role. So you should see that the material what you use as a high index material so that it can transmit the light which has been passing through usefully. So always you have to go to select the material which has an high index value. So this silicon oxide, which has a high index material, will be mixed with different types of dopants because a pure single material cannot fetch you all the functional aspects of an optical fiber. It could be any product for that. We usually mix two or three material together to make a composite material or a smart material based on the required application. Here also the silicon oxide, which has a high index material, will be mixed with that of different dopants. Why do we mix with different dopants? Because to control the refractive index. So in order to control the refractive index of the material, it is very essential to have an dopant material, right? So this is the reason why we add on dopants along with that of the silicon oxide. And later you know how the fiber structure of the optical fiber looks like. It has a core, and above that you have an cladder. So behind that you have an device which holds it, right? So these are the three main components. So you know that the core is surrounded by a cladding material. So the core as well as the cladding material both will be made up of silicon oxide, so which are just looks like an glass which is transparent enough. Okay, so the core is surrounded by the cladding material. This is also made up of glass material of silicon oxide, but the refractive index of the cladding material will be comparatively slightly lesser than that of the core. Why? Because in the yesterday's class we dealt because you should be having two regions. One is the lighter region, another one is the denser region. So the core will be the denser region, which will be having little bit higher refractive index, and the cladder will be the lighter region whose refractive index will be little bit lighter. So this we understood yesterday with respect to the example of water and the air media also. The same concept has been applied wherever you use the optical fiber, and hence you will use the material in such a way that the cladding area has slightly lower refractive index than that of the core, right? Usually the difference will be in between 0.01 to 0.02. Okay, so there will be a slighter variation because you need one the higher, the denser material and the lighter material. So core will be having the denser material which helps to propagate the light rays from one end to that of the other. So if all the light rays has to be reflected back, the upward surface which is surrounded as a cladder should have a little bit lighter index, right? And hence a slight variation in the indexing will be there. It is of small difference as mentioned here in the slide, which is between 0.001 or 0.002. Okay, so this is a small difference what we do usually get between the cladder and the core. This is with respect to the indexing value. Okay, so with respect to that, we are now speaking about there are two type of characteristics what you have to understand. Okay, so one is the index profile. So we are dealing now the index profile for step index as well as the graded index fiber. So first we will go with the step index fiber. Okay, so these classifications, if you remember, we have studied yesterday on the basis of refractive index. There are two classifications, right? So one is the step index optical fiber, another one is the graded index optical fiber. So we dealt in about the differences yesterday in the class, right? So in the step index fiber, the output pulse what you get will be comparatively lesser than that of the input pulse. In case of graded index, the output pulse will be little bit comparatively better when you compare to that of the step index. Why? Because you have a loss in the power which has been transmitted. Because here the light rays will cross the axis and transfer, so which results in the loss. But whereas here it remains the same, the axis through which the light rays passes will remain the same because it will move in the form of helical shape. So this we dealt yesterday. So if you have not remembered, so you can just see here in graded index fiber, what happens is the fiber core does not have an uniform refractive index. Whereas in case of step, they will be having an uniform refractive index. So due to that purpose, what happens basically, there will be a gradual decrease from the center towards the core. Okay, and as a result, the cladding has an uniform refractive index. So at the cladding, you will be having the uniform refractive index, whereas in the core, you won't be having a uniform refractive index. So due to that reason, the light rays propagate in the form of an helical rays. So you will be having the light rays which propagate here from the core to the cladder, right? It will be having uniform index here. It won't be having uniform index at the core. So it forms an helical groove, right? It touches here again the axis and again one more helical groove, one more helical groove. So this pass on. So as it moves in an helical groove nature, so there will be no loss of electrical power or the light rays which is passing in comparison to the step index fiber, and hence the output pulse will be comparatively better with respect to the step index fiber. So due to this variation, so here you can see a step as I explained you yesterday. Here there will be no step across the core. It will be having a helical surface. So this is the difference. So these characteristics are only now we are again comparing. So we have the graph for this structure with respect to the refractive index value, and here also we have the graph what we'll be explaining now with respect to the refractive index value. So after having that clear aspect, you can now see the graph. This is for step index, where you can see a step formation here. But whereas when it comes for graded index, you will be having a helical surface here with no step across the core. So this is the difference why you find in case of step index and the graded index fiber. So now further characteristics of it should be understood. So now I was referring for the diagram 7.4. So this characteristics we are dealing now with respect to step index fiber. So in step index fiber, this is the diagram and this is the index profile. Why we call this as an index profile? Because we are speaking with respect to the refractive index of the cladding and the core material. Okay, so and hence this is called as an index profile. So this is a diagram for the step index. Step index profile graph. And here you can observe that in step index fibers, the rays travel close to the longitudinal axis of the fibers. Okay, so the rays which comes out through the source will travels in longitudinal direction, right? So this is our horizontal and this is the longitudinal. So the rays which comes will move in the longitudinal direction across the core material, okay, axis of the fiber, and it travels a very short distance than that of the angle to the axis. So what happens is it moves in longitudinal direction and it follows a very short distance. So this is the very short distance which is being traversed, okay, with respect to that of angle to the axis. Suppose if you have any transformation of rays with respect to angle to the axis, this is the x-axis and this is the y, right? If it has any inclination in transferring the line, then it moves in the angle direction. If it moves in the angle direction, then the distance traveled will be more. But when it moves in the longitudinal direction, it will move in the horizontal direction to a very small and short distance across the dimension of the core element. And hence this distance will be very much less. And then the transmission will be with respect to the cladding element. So this is the cladding element. So here also it moves in a very short distance only. But if you feel like any inclination which is passed through the angle, then the distance traveled will be larger. So if you go back to the diagram over here, you can see that this is, okay, so the outer line will be for the cladder and the inner line will be for the core element, right? So here you have the optical rays passing along the horizontal direction and you have the light rays which is moving in the inclined direction also. So if the light rays move in the inclined direction, then the distance traveled by the cladder or the core will be more. But when it travels in a very single mode of direction, then it moves in a longitudinal direction with respect to very short distance. So that was being explained over here now. So this happens only in case of step index fibers. Okay, but the travel time for these rays will be different. It is not like all the light rays will be traveling in the same direction. Some will be traveling in the same direction in single mode. Some will be traveling in the multiple mode direction, right, across the axis. So the time taken for each light rays moving along the horizontal axis with respect to some inclination of angle will be different in case of step indexed optical fiber. So these are the concepts or the parameters what we are explaining with respect to only the indexing value, which is a refractive index, and hence it is called as an index profile. So this graph is nothing but the index profile for the step indexed optical fiber. So this comes under the characteristic feature of optical fiber. If they ask you to explain the characteristic feature of the optical fiber, you have to explain the index profile for step index fiber as well as the graded index fiber. So now we were dealing with the step index fiber. Similarly, we have to go now for fiber index. So this is the graph what you have to draw and show for the step index fiber. Similarly, now we go for, hope this is clear. Any doubts in this? Should I explain again?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
So this is about the step index profile, right? So next we have to deal up with the graded index fiber. I explained you what happens in case of graded index fiber, right? So here the input pulse will be higher than that of output pulse. There will be little bit of loss, but still it is better than step index fiber because here it results in the formation of helical grooves. Even though a number of light rays passes through the input channel, so it will be having an helical type of curvature across the core. When it comes to the cladder, it will be a straight and again it comes to an inclined position. So all will converge and diverge at one point so that there will be no losses of light more, right? And comparatively, it will yield like 75% of the output pulse signal. In comparison to step index, it could be told only 50%. Here we can observe at least 75% of the optical light rays will be traversed at the output channel. So this is the graph or the profile what we get for graded index fiber with respect to the indexing profile. So same thing now we are going to describe in our fiber characteristics for graded index fiber. So due to that helical nature, you can see like a curved surface across the core and then comes to the cladder unit and then the coating device which has been connected to it. So here again, the core is made up of glass, which is silicon oxide, with an refractive index varying smoothly across the core diameter. So the refractive index value will vary with respect to very small value with respect to the core diameter, it is being told. So there will be no any sharp cutoff as it was there in the step index. It forms exactly a step where you will be having a drastic difference between the diameter of the core and the diameter of the cladder. But whereas in case of graded index fiber, you can see an smooth variation between the dimensions of the core to that of the cladder. There will be no step formation here. There will be a smooth surface which changes from the diameter of the core to that of the cladder suddenly. There will be no huge step difference in case of graded index fiber. So this is the major change what we can observe in graded index fiber as shown in figure. And in case of this graded index fiber, what happens is the travel distance can be controlled by how it could be controlled by the way how the light dispersion is minimized. So here the light dispersion which has been needed could be minimized to reduce the distance of the travel of the light rays because it is moving in helical groove nature and hence the time required to move also could be reduced if you control the dispersion of light. What is the magnitude of the light which has been dispersed, with what speed it has been traveling, that could be controlled because there is no huge difference between the core and the cladder. If it is there also, it has been covered in a very smooth surface, right? And hence the light dispersion could be minimized in case of graded index fiber so that the time required to travel the longer distance could be controlled. I told you optical fibers are used to transmit the light with very short period of time because the speed of the light with which the light ray travels is very high in comparison to that of other data which could be transmitted. But if you use a graded index fiber in that, the plus point is the travel distance could be again cut short, means in a very short span period of time, if you minimize the dispersion of light value, so it could easily transfer the rays of light which has been needed in a very short period of time. So this is the major like plus point in comparison to that of the step index fiber. Okay, so even though it provides a good concept for light transmission through the optical fibers by using graded index, it has some lacunas in it. So what it is like it seems to have some incompleteness in the flow. Why? Because it does not include oscillations along the principal directions. See, sometimes it is very essential that if you transmit anything, if it comes for vibration absorbers, we usually retain some oscillations. When a load is applied, it has to move to and fro and it has to complete the oscillations until which the vibrations are there in the media, right? So if you add a damper, then the vibration reduces automatically and oscillations comes down at a very quicker rate. Similarly, even in optical fiber, even though it has a good advantage of traveling the data or the light in a short period of time, it feels sometimes as incomplete because it has been declared that these optical fibers will not include the oscillations with respect to the principal direction. So what do you mean by this oscillations? Usually, optical fibers will not pretend any type of oscillations. It will just transmit the light rays from one end to the other. It could be in an principal axis direction, which is the principal direction, or it could be in the inclined direction. But when the light is made to transmit, it won't oscillate to and fro and then go outside at the output. That will not happen because you are not subjecting any load and making the device to vibrate. It is only a transparent media, the optical fiber, which helps in transmitting the light rays from one end to that of the other. So they feel that for the given input, the required oscillation is not there in the optical fiber. So they feel that if that oscillation is there, they could transmit the equal quantity of the light which is passing through one end to the other end effectively. That is a theoretical concept behind telling that they don't have oscillation across a principal direction. The principal direction is nothing but the direction in which you have the refractive index. Okay, so in this direction, they tell that the oscillation is not there. So if it is there, it could be transmitting the entire input pulse to that of output pulse. But practically, it cannot be possible. But the functionality aspect of it is comparatively better than that of the step index fiber, what I can tell you. So this is the theoretical approach put forward for the graded index fiber. So we have shown how does it looks like with respect to the diagram also with an circular curvature over here. But whereas in case of step index, you had a step formation in between the core and the cladder. But here, the difference between the diameter is slightly covered by the smooth surface from the core to that of the cladder. And it is comparatively better to transmit a large amount of light in a very short period of time with less amount of losses. But they seem that they needed oscillations to cover the total input pulse to that of the output pulse. But it is not, it is like highly impossible to convert the total input pulse to that of the output pulse. Okay. So, but still it has a better position in comparison to that of the step index fiber. And one more thing what you have to understand is the propagation of light across the optical fibers can be always looked upon in the form of an electromagnetic waves. Here also the way how the light rays follows will be similar to that of the electromagnetic waves. You have studied the electrorheological fluid. You have studied magnetorheological fluid. You know how a smart fluid propagates, and we have studied its basic characteristics also. Similarly, if you know how does a sinusoidal wave moves with respect to the vibration when it comes for the vibration absorber. Similarly, the channel or the way in which the light propagates in the optical fiber in the form of an helical groove, as I showed you in the diagram here, could be compared with respect to electromagnetical waves. So even the nature of the graph for electromagnetical waves will be similar to that of the electrical helical grooves, which are being shown in the diagram over here. So the same thing has been mentioned here. So this also varies with respect to different modes. As you had different modes of frequency in vibration absorber, similarly here, due to the nature of the helical grooves, here also you can think that it is similar to that of electromagnetic waves where the flow of the light rays varies with respect to the different modes. So here it is just a comparison of the flow of the light rays within the helical, within this graded index fiber with respect to the electromagnetic waves, which is compared with respect to different modes. So with respect to different modes, the flow of the optical rays within the fiber also could be changed. So this is a comparison how it is being told like. So here they have just told an example, like if you have a core which is made up of 10 micrometer diameter, then it is told that it is only about 4 wavelengths across and therefore cannot allow more than a single mode. why it is told as a single mode? You might be having a question, right? So I told you the diagram here. Even though if you have n number of light rays passing through the input channel, it could have moved in a different direction, where one mode, two mode, three mode. So you had different principal directions which help to provide all the intensity of the light to meet here with a higher magnitude. But it is not happening here because the diameter of the core is very less, near to 10 microns. In that case, it will get converged into a single unit entity only. Even though you see here 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 5 optical rays of light is coming from the input pulse, but still it is converging at a particular point across the principal axis. And again, this gets diverged into 5 rays of light, but still it again converge at particular point. Ultimately, a converged value of the light rays is been made to pass through outside the optical fiber. That means to show it is helping the light to traverse in a single mode. So this is a single mode. You have a single light rays which is transferring from the input to that of the output. But here, even though you have 5 lines of light which is coming through the input pulse, you can see that again it is converged into a single entity line across the movement to the output channel. So means to say that it go with respect to a single mode of flow only. It converges and it goes into a single mode of flow. This is basically due to the reduced diameter of the core, nearly to 10 micron meter. So this is what the last characteristics which has been mentioned. If you have a core of diameter 10 micrometer, even though you have 4 wavelengths together, it gets converged and it will allowed to move in the form of a single mode. So this is the nature of a graded index fiber. So if they ask you to explain the fiber characteristics, you should be able to explain what is the material made up of optical fiber, why it is used like in silicon oxide, why it is doped with different materials. So then how you characterize the indexing features of the given optical fiber with respect to 2 classifications you should tell. One is the step index and the graded index fiber. You have to draw the diagram. You have to represent the shape of the curvature for the graded index and the step formation in case of a step index fiber, and explain the difference between those two beautifully. So this is about the fiber characteristics. Hope this is clear. Any doubt associated with this?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, so this is about the fiber characteristics. Once the fiber characteristics is known, now the next part in your syllabus deals about the sensors. Means the sensors which are being developed by using fiber optics. If I tell you only sensors, it could be sensors of piezoelectric material also, right? So it is not just sensors, it is focusing with respect to fiber optics. So there are like 4 to 5 types of fiber optic sensors which are there, right? We will just deal one by one, and I'll also tell which are the most promising one, which you have to focus more on studies also. So, but when it comes to fiber optic sensors, it could be broadly classified into 2 categories. One is the extrinsic and the other one is the intrinsic. Okay. So extrinsic sensors have some working phenomena in a different way, and intrinsic sensors have the working phenomena in a different channel. So basically, when it is with respect to fiber optic, sensors are of 2 major classification, the extrinsic and the intrinsic. So what happens in case of extrinsic fiber sensors? So here, whether it is extrinsic or intrinsic, you need a light source, and the light source has to be sensed, and the light has to be incident on the optical fiber. So you'll be having an incident angle and a refracted angle. You know what happens when the incident angle is less. You know what happens when the incident angle is equal to critical angle. And you know what happens when the incident angle is more than critical angle. We have studied all the classifications. So in an extrinsic fiber sensor, Also, the light will sense the parameter which has been made to pass through. Okay, so this light sensing the parameter can study various parameters. What it can study? It can study the strain effect, the temperature, the pressure, the variation, the vibration, and the chemical concentration. So these are the applications of extrinsic sensors. Why the extrinsic fiber sensors are used? In order to know what is the strain induced when the light or the any type of data is being transmitted from the input pulse to that of the output pulse. If there is any variation in the temperature with respect to the surrounding, you can understand the variations with respect to temperature. Pressure also. If any vibration is coming on with respect to external surrounding, even you can use this to sense the vibrations. And if any chemical concentration has to be analyzed related to some applications, this is rarely used. So even in that places, you can use this fiber optic sensors. Okay, so these are the main requirements why an extrinsic fiber sensor is used. Means this fiber sensor helps to sense the strain which is coming from an external surface, the temperature effect which is coming from external surface, the pressure, the vibration. So all these are related to the surrounding environment where you have kept the device. So this type of sensors are told to be as extrinsic fiber sensors. Okay, so this is the main requirement why you use an extrinsic fiber sensor. Okay, so here what happens is, so this is a requirement, and here basically this data could be entered as an input for a fiber, or it could be entered into another fiber to determine where the device is exactly. Okay, so this is the just an added advantage of using an extrinsic fiber sensor. So suppose this fiber sensor is developed and you keep this device in a particular location, right? So this data, what it can analyze, could be given as an input to the fiber, or it could be entered as a data to detect the device. So this is the main requirement of extrinsic fiber sensor. So next you have to know about the intrinsic sensors. So it helps to study the change in the internal surface of any given optical fiber, or if it is placed on some device, to evaluate the changes which is going on with respect to the inside parameters of the given device. So here intrinsic sensors could be used to refer the variation in the intensity of the light which has been transmitting from the input signal to that of the output. And also it could help to identify what is the change of phase. Suppose you have an intrinsic sensor and you have kept on a device. So it could be of any smart material or a normal composite material, and you have made a device and it is subjected for some application. Suppose if that device is subjected for some heat treatment process. So when it is subjected to some heat treatment process, there will be change of phase from orthorhombic to tetragonal or whatsoever. So at that time, if you place this intrinsic sensor, so this helps to sense the change in the phase which is happening in the device. Okay, so and if any changes in the polarization, suppose you have used an piezoelectric material which is polarized to check the piezoelectric charge coefficients. So then if you keep this intrinsic sensor on the piezoelectric device, it can sense what is the value to which the material is being polarized. So this is the application. And also if you want to identify like the wavelength with which the light is made to pass through, so that also could be identified by using the intrinsic sensor. Means it helps to identify the properties related with respect to internal dimensions of the given device. And frequency, suppose you have a device which has been subjected to vibration, so it is vibrating. So if you keep this intrinsic sensor, it helps to know what is the frequency through which the material has been moving its oscillation with different modes of frequency. So this type of things could be understood by using intrinsic sensors. Okay, so related to these huge classification of extrinsic and intrinsic sensors, we have few list of optical fibers basically. So one is microband and graded index fiber. Second is extrinsic Fabry-Perot sensor. Third is Mach-Zehnder interferometer. And fourth is fiber optic strain measurement techniques. Out of all these two sensors are most commonly used. So these two sensors are used to measure the strain. So, but the techniques used are different. So, if you want to evaluate the strain measurement of any device, then you will use the fiber optic strain measurement technique. Out of that, you have two categories. One is the Bragg grating sensor, another one is the white light interferometry. So these two are most commonly asked questions related to optical fiber sensors. I mean to say that these are not asked. No, sometimes they do ask related to write a note on the other type of sensors also. You should be keenly aware. Okay. So with that, hope until here it is clear before moving to type of sensors.
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts? Okay. So coming to the classifications of optical fibers, I told you exactly what are the classifications. So in that we are going on with that of first is Bragg grating sensor. So what do you mean by Bragg grating sensor? So here you can see a small diagram. Bragg grating sensor is nothing but a sensor associated with the optical fiber. So when I tell you optical fiber, you know that you have an optical fiber. Within that, you will be having a core element and a cladding system. So on that cladding system, you will be having a coating element and that will be supported by an insulator, right? So we are just showing you the main two components. So this Bragg grating sensor also will be having a core and a cladding unit. Okay, so this is the direction in which the light rays will be made to pass through, and it has some graded distance from one point to that of the other. So I'll just explain what happens here and what you mean by grating exactly. This is a basic sketch. How does it look like? It will be having an optical fiber with two units, the core and the cladder. So after you know these two, now you have to see what you mean by this grating. So here on the core of a fiber, you can see close parallel lines, okay, of dimensions grated from 1 mm to 20 mm. So this is the entire length of the optical fiber. So this is a part of the core in which you have the lines grated equally and within parallel distance of line. So these distances are grated with a dimension of 1 to 20 mm. So you can consider this entire distance to be as 20 mm, which is divided into equal distances and it is placed in parallel directions. Okay, so this is called as the grated unit, and hence the name Bragg grating sensor. So for very small length, 1 mm, 1 mm, 1 mm, likewise 20 divisions are done on the core of the given optical fiber, right? So this is done to create a systematic perturbation of the core refractive index. Perturbation. So what do you mean by systematic perturbation? So this is needed to create or to develop a systematic perturbation of the core's refractive index. Means you're trying to enhance the indexivity across the core, not across the cladder. Okay, so for that, small gratings are made at exactly the center of the core, right? So that you can enhance the indexing value of the core. That is nothing but called as the index modulation. Modulation of the index is called to be a systematic perturbation of the core for its refractive index modulation. So in order to modulate the value of the indexing feature of the core, this grating is being done, so that you will develop a periodic variation with respect to the index across a particular distance. when this variation is done, so it helps to filter some unwanted light rays of different particular wavelength. So what happens here, you can observe. So this is the input signal. Input signal is nothing but the input pulse. So I've showed you the graph before, how the input pulse and the output pulse will be. If it is of same magnitude and same height, then you can say that the amount of light transmitted across the input is transmitted at the output without any loss. But if you have any variations in the output pulse, then you can show that some amount of light is omitted, and that omitted light is due to some loss. And here you can see this is the input signal, and this input signal refers to the wavelength of the light which is made to pass through the optical fiber. So when this light is made to pass through the optical fiber, you are doing some grating here across the core from 1 mm to 20 mm. So due to this grating, some amount of light rays will not be made to pass through this channel. So this will be filtered. So the filtered amount of light rays is shown over here. So once these light rays are filtered due to modulation, the remaining amount of light will be transmitted to the core, will be transmitted through the core to the output channel. So this is the output pulse. So in the output pulse, you can see that there is some area which has been omitted. You can observe the white region over here, right? Is it visible? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so this white region is nothing but subtracted area of the input signal. Here you had a total green area, but here a small part of green area is been omitted, and this omitted area is being shown over here, right? Due to this modulation, some amount of light rays is filtered, and that light rays which is filtered is been shown here, and the region where the light rays was there is been shown empty across the output pulse. Suppose this is mainly used to subtract some amount of light rays which are not needed by you. For some application, you need some light of a specific wavelength, but you cannot send only that required light of that specific wavelength. So the light, when it comes, it will be with a huger, higher wavelength. So if you want to filter some part of the light which is not needed, then if you use this Bragg grating sensor and required number of grating system, you can filter that particular wavelength of light, so that you will use the required output pulse as per your application. So this type of Bragg grating sensor is needed to delete the light rays which is not needed from your end. It again depends upon the application in which you are going to use. So basically, Bragg grating sensor helps to filtrate the light rays which is unwanted. So this is the main application why the Bragg grating sensor is being used. So here when you send the light, it will have the light rays of all range of wavelength from lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3 until lambda n. But here you have the grating across the core which will verify and make the changes with respect to the indexing module, and hence some amount of light rays will be omitted, and the amount of light rays which will be transmitted will be having lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3, so on until lambda n minus of lambda I. Okay, means it will be subtracting some amount of incident light which is not needed. So the amount of light which has been omitted will be reflected back across the input pulse. It will not move further, right? Because you have the indexing modulation, the set of light rays pass over here. Due to modulation, only the required light rays will be transmitted, and not required light rays, which is subtracted, will be made to pass through the output as shown over here, right? So this is the main thing which happens in case of an Bragg grating sensor. So this is how an Bragg grating sensor works. Hope this is clear. Any doubt related to this, students?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So this is about the Bragg grating sensor. So I've just shown an extra diagram here to understand the grading period. Okay, this is not mentioned in your syllabus, but still, what is the grading period also plays a vital role. So depending upon the wavelength of the light you need, the grading period has to be reduced or it has to be enhanced. If you want to filter a very large amount of light rays of different wavelength, then the grading period has to be increased. If you need to omit only a smaller wavelength, then it's not necessary to provide a more grating period. So you will soak the grating period for some specific time, which is called as a dwell time. So that helps to filtrate all the unrequired light rays. So that is called to be as a grating period. And usually these grated lines will be connected to an index modulation. So this index modulation will vary how many distance is needed and what is a grating period needed. So based on that, you can fine tune the effective refractive index for that particular light rays which is made to pass through. So wherever if you see inverted V, so that is called to be as a grating period, and N suffix EFF will refer the efficient refractive index of the fiber cone. Here you are fine tuning the refractive index of the light which is passing through the core, because that is again your requirement and the application for which you are using. So if you fine tune with respect to index modulation, you can get the required refractive index value, because a refractive index value plays a vital role in optical fiber. If you have the required refractive index, then all the light rays which is passing inside the core could be reflected back within the core. So there will be no loss of light and equal amount of light can be transmitted from one end to the other. So to optimize the refractive index also, you can use the Bragg grating sensor, and you can use Bragg grating sensor to emit the wavelength of some light which is not needed. So it has more than one application. So based on the application, you can use for what purpose the Bragg grating sensor is needed. So this is about the Bragg grating sensor. If they ask you to explain, kindly draw these two sketches more than enough. You can draw the sketch and explain how does it operate, what is the use, what is its purpose. So this is about the first type of optical fiber sensor as per your syllabus. And next you have white light interferometry. So this is the second type of optical fiber, which is under the name white light interferometry. So it follows the interferometer concept, and the light what it is being used, the light source is nothing but an white light, and hence the name white light interferometry. So what happens in this technique, you have an active fiber. The active fiber is also called as a strained fiber. So if you have a light rays passing through the fiber, then that is active fiber. Due to some input, the fiber is strained, and due to strain, it has to give back its output in the form of an output pulse or an electrical signal or a data what you have to transfer from one end to the other. If you don't have any input at all, then you cannot call that as an active fiber, right? So always in white light interferometry, you will be having an active fiber which will be in the strained condition. Strained condition means you have loaded the fiber either with the light rays, the data, or electrical signal whatsoever. Apart from that, you will be having an unstrained fiber. So unstrained fiber is nothing but a fiber which is not loaded either with the light signal or the data or the electrical signal. So these two fibers will be sliced together, spliced together. Okay, so you will be having two verticals, one of active fiber and another one of the unstrained fiber. So these two will be spliced together, and after splicing together, a set of white light will be made to pass through. So one will be loaded, one will be free. So due to this channel, the source of light will be passed. So when a source of light is made to pass through these two fibers, what happens? It will interfere, and how it will interfere, it depends upon the length with which the rays has been made to pass through with respect to these two fibers. One is the active, another one is the reference fiber. Okay, so the variation come across with respect to the active fiber because it is already strained. So due to this variation, it results in the change in the interference pattern of the light rays across the strained fiber. Okay, so this will help you to identify or to measure the strains which come across when it is loaded and unloaded. So this was used and identified by the person Huston in the year 1999. This type of white light interferometry will be basically used in civil and geotechnological engineering applications, where basically you can use it to measure the strain, because you'll be having huge construction buildings, bridges, where strain usually comes in day-to-day activities due to many kind of loads what they are bearing. So if you use this type of optical fiber sensors, one which is strained and one which is unstrained, both having the fibers, and when the light rays is made to pass through, it will show the variation of light, how it's happening in the strained fiber and how it is in an unstrained fiber. So by that you can compare and see how the variation come across when a given device is under strained condition. So the same type of measurement can be done by using in civil and geotechnological applications. So I'll just show you a diagram here basically. So here what happens is, you can see this is a white light source. So you will be having an optical fiber. It will be having two verticals. So one vertical will be of strained fiber and the other vertical will be of unstrained fiber. So these two will be spliced together, right? So when it is spliced together, it will be connected to an unit. So these two will be spliced. So after it is spliced, you will be having an source light. So this is a white source light. So the source light will be made to pass through the two verticals of the optical fiber. So one fiber will be strained and the other fiber will be unstrained. So it will measure how the variation come across in the strained vertical and the unstrained vertical. And you'll be having a mirror here, and it reflects the variation of the light rays. So it can show you in the form of wave. So in the form of wave, you can understand how the output pulse of the light is across the strained fiber and how the output pulse is there across the unstrained fiber. So by comparing the graph profile for the refractive index, it is nothing but the refractive index profile. It helps to show the variation, what you're getting in the strained graph and the unstrained graph. Okay, so along with that, if you can keep a sample here, and if you have a camera, right, so even that could be visualized. But before going into thing, you just see one more diagram over here. So this is an instrument which is used, and it works on the principle of Tiemann Green interferometer. So you have a camera purely based off some sensor material. So here you can see this will be the light source. So I showed you just the working principle. A light source, optical fiber, one strained fiber, the unstrained fiber, which is holding by a mirror, and the output pulse could be visualized in the mirror directly. The same thing now is kept in the horizontal direction. Basically, you will be having a light source. So this is an aperture, what you will be using in front of the light source, so that the amount of light coming through it will be allowed to pass through this aperture only, right? So after it is made to pass through the aperture, you can see that you have an condenser lens. So this is a condenser lens what you have. So it gets condensed, right, when it come across this condenser lens. So when you have a lens here of concave, so the converged rays of light will be made to pass through parallel rays of light. So the converged rays of light will be now allowed to move in parallel rays of light. So after this, you will be having the specimen over here. So this is the specimen which will be kept across the bottom. So here you have the beam splitter. So this one is called as a beam splitter. You will be having a splitting plane over here. So it splits the light, right? So the light which has been splitted will be going back to the reference plate over here. So once it goes back to the reference plate, it gets reflected and it comes back here. So when it comes back here, it comes and visualizes the specimen or the sample what it is in both the direction. Okay, so it visualizes the specimen here. Once it visualizes the specimen, again, this is the incident light through which it is visualizing the specimen. And again, it will be reflected back. In both the cases, it will be reflected back. Okay, so here you have like the optical fibers, one of the sensed one, another one is the strained one and the unstrained one. So the strained and the unstrained one will be spliced across a particular position, means it will get a crossover, the strained and the unstrained one. So after this splitting, it will be focused back to the mirror here. So when it is focused back to the mirror, it will be converged again, but we need a parallel movement of direction. Again, you'll be having a lens here. Okay, so this will help the condenser lens. So this will help to focus the image parallelly to the mirror. So here you can see the image of the output pulse of both the optical fiber. So if this is unstrained, you will get the output pulse of the unstrained optical fiber. And if this is the strained optical fiber, you get the output pulse of the strained optical fiber over here. So you can compare both what's happening in the input and the output pulse of the strained and unstrained optical fiber with the help of a white light source. So here the splitter, the condenser, the aperture, the condenser and the optical fiber plays a very vital role in showing the variation with respect to strained and unstrained profile graphs. Okay, so this is basically used where you want to measure the strain effects and compare with that of the unstrained part. So these are the two applications of the sensors. So we have covered two parts of the optical fiber sensors. One is the Bragg grating sensor, another one is the white light interferometry. So both this type of sensors falls into the category of strain measurement technique. So we have covered the fiber optic strain measurement techniques. Under that, we have dealt the Bragg grating sensor and the white light interferometry. Okay, and what are the applications of these two sensors also we have dealt about. So currently I will stop here. So remaining part we will be dealing in the next class. So any doubt related to this, students?
No, ma'am.
Hope everything is clear for you all right from the day one, no doubts at all. If you have doubts, you have to ask, okay? It is not like, don't hesitate. If you're not understanding anything in between, kindly you can ping me up at any point and ask. If you have doubts now also, please free to tell. Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so everyone type your name and USN in the chat room. In the meantime, I will take the attendance. Hope you people are studying, prepare the notes, read the textbook. Today is 11th, right? Danush? Danush? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Mithun? Okay. Mithun? Mohan Ambal?
Ma'am.
Yeah. Sandesh?
Yes, ma'am.
Srinidhi?
Yes, ma'am.
Sukrut?
Yes, ma'am.
And Harsha?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So everyone take care. Have a nice day. Right? We will meet again in the next class. So until then, be safe, take care and prepare well for all the subjects. Thank you. I will share some quiz link later before today end of the class. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you then. Bye bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.